Welcome to Momentum, a podcast that dives deep into the issues facing women's sports, brought to you by Mecca Empower. I'm Kat Sasso, and each week I will be joined by experts and athletes as we dive deep into the world of women's sports and all of the triumphs and trials that face it. This week, I'm joined by the NWSL's very own Angel City co-founder and president, Julie Uhrman, and head of PR, Stephanie Rudnick. But before I dive into how they have built the most valuable women's sporting club in the world, I'd better go get ready. Hello, guys. If you've been following women's football, you know that the path to financial sustainability has been tough. Women's sports have long been undervalued, with sponsorships, media coverage, and revenue often far lower than their male counterparts. But something is shifting, and Angel City is leading the charge. The club has already been valued at a staggering $250 million US. And it's not just about the football, it's about the ecosystem that they've built around the team. But let's be real, this success didn't happen by accident. One of the biggest issues facing women's sports has always been monetizing the fan base. There's been a gap between the passion of fans and the financial support to match it. For example, take the Matildas and the Socceroos. The Matildas outsell the Socceroos in merchandise despite the men's team traditionally getting way more media attention. That just shows how much untapped potential exists when women's teams get the right exposure and backing. And this is where Angel City stands apart. Born out of a vision in 2020 with a group of high-profile female investors, including actresses, athletes, and entrepreneurs, the club has not only created a competitive team, but a community-driven, fan-first business model that puts women's sports on the map in a way we've never seen before. In today's episode, we'll take a deeper dive into how Angel City turned these challenges into opportunities and what the future holds for the next generation of women's sports. Julie, Angel City was recently valued at $250 million US only 4 years after its foundation. How does it feel to be the president and one of the co-founders of the most valuable women's sporting team in the world?
It feels incredible, but it doesn't feel surprising. Our goal was to build something that was deserving of these incredible athletes, deserving of the best players in the world, and deserving of the world sport. And we were intentional about how we built it, how we invested in it, the community, the players, the experience, the infrastructure, the team. So to be called the world's most valuable women's football club in the world is incredible, but I have an incredible team that worked hard to make it happen.
And you guys are in a league of your own, considering that in its first season, Angel City made up nearly 40% of the league's total revenue. And then last year as well, your revenue was double that of the second highest earning club in the NWSL. Can you talk me through that monetization strategy?
Yeah, well, first, unbelievably happy and proud that the league is catching up. Like, our goal is to lead, but we don't want to be out in front by ourselves. We know that everybody watches women's sports. We know they buy merch. We know they tune in. We know they go to games. It's not just professional leagues, it's national teams. You saw it with the Matildas and, with the World Cup a couple of years ago. So we know there's an audience. The problem is the product hasn't been good enough. The price of the product hasn't been good enough. We haven't valued the product to make you want to go and show up. And so how we did it was really being intentional about building an experience that people wanted to show up for, where you valued the product by charging a price that matters, by creating an entertaining experience. With game days for Angel City, we think about it from the perspective of getting you to think about Angel City from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. Creating a fan fest where 3,000 to 4,000 fans come 4 to 5 hours before the game so they can create community and create a sense of belonging and have fun. We think about it by creating experience for everyone and not just assuming that women's sports is only supported by young girls and girl dads and families. And our motto every game is somebody's first game. So it's about raising the bar for ourselves, but also raising the experience for our fans. We do that with game day. We do that with the community. We wanted to include our partners and our fans in building women's football. The mission of Angel City is much bigger than football. It's really about driving towards equity and using sport and entertainment to do that. And how we include our partners through our 10% sponsorship model, which Steph can talk about, or including our fans with our 1% fan field model. But it's showing that if we all work together, we can grow the sport, we can get the players paid, and we can drive the business of women's sports for our stakeholders and for our owners.
It's such an amazing way of thinking. And Steph, obviously, you've been a major part of this club since the get. Can you tell me where your expertise comes in all of this?
Sure. So I met Julie through a friend of mine, and it was totally by chance, and it changed the whole course of my life, to be honest. My best friend Robin hosts something called the Wild Feminist and Tech Basketball League, and Julie and Kara were both members. And Kara walked up to Julie and said, "Hey, Natalie Portman and I are trying to bring a team to Los Angeles, a women's soccer team," and Robin was standing right there. That's the only reason that this potentially would have happened, I imagine. But when I started talking to Julie about what she was doing, I was like, I have a crazy job right now, but whatever I can do to help. And she said, listen, storytelling is essential. We need to get storytelling right because we have so much competition in this market with 11 other professional sports teams, including USC and UCLA and Disneyland and the beaches and the mountains. There's a lot of competition. And what I loved about how Julie came and approached this is when I was able to come and work for her, I was her first hire because they understood that we had to tell the story correctly in order to cut through. And so working with Julie and a small team, just trying, we didn't even have a name yet, right? We did this we started this, Julie started this like as the pandemic was rearing its ugly head. And so I would say the first 9 months of our working relationship was all on Zoom. And the cool thing about working for Julie is that she is so trusting of her team. And so we were allowed to be really vulnerable and take a lot of chances. And she said, fall on your face. Who cares? We got to try. And that leads into kind of us being a mostly women, female team. Really, at the time, we moved so fast. We weren't like, Julie was like, let's have a meeting about a meeting. She's like, go, let's go. And that is, being on the comm side of it, is really empowering because you've got someone that trusts you. And then obviously my media relationships actually help, along the way. But it was a totally life-changing experience so far. It's been almost 5 years and I'm so grateful.
It's incredible.
And one of the other things that Steph, didn't mention is the storytelling was the first part, but it was also telling it to as large of an audience as possible. Women's sports fans don't just care about sports. They care about pop culture and fashion and entertainment. They care about social justice. They care about music. They care about video games. And we had this incredible storyline of 3 female founders, including Natalie Portman, majority female ownership team, majority female staff. And those were ideas that resonated more broadly. And then just our overall mission to use sport and entertainment to drive to equity. So when Steph was telling our story, yes, it was to sports press, but it was also to entertainment and to financial and to venture and tech because we built it so differently. And we had, again, such a bigger goal than just winning games. I think that also sort of accelerated, our path to the valuation that you spoke about, because we wanted everyone to know what we're doing and ultimately have others follow us.
That's incredible. Can you guys take me back to 2020, where this idea came from, where the name Angel City came from, just the whole idea for this club? Where did it come from?
Yeah. So as Steph mentioned, I was sort of the third founder to join this incredible journey. I have 2 co-founders, Kara Nortman, who's a venture capitalist, and Natalie Portman, the actress and activist. And Kara and Natalie met through their work at Time's Up, which was really supporting the U.S. women's soccer team as they were embarking on a lawsuit against U.S. soccer for pay equity. And so back in 2019, there was a lot of conversations about women creating networks, women supporting each other, and women working together to drive for equity, pay equity, gender equity, visibility equity. It all sort of came together when this U.S. women's national team they got so close with during their work at Time's Up won the World Cup in France. Kara comes back and says, hey, you know what? We don't want to sit on the sidelines anymore. We want to have a seat at the table to affect change. We want to build our world that we want our kids to grow up in. We want our kids to watch sports without a gender filter. And the best way to do that is to bring a women's football team to Los Angeles. I'm an entrepreneur. And so they approached me, said, you know how to build community and you know how to build product. Can you help us do this? What they forgot to realize is that I'd never built a sports team before or been part of a sports team. So I really had to learn that. And I think that's the other part that made this so unique was that I didn't come with preconceived notions. Neither did Kara and Natalie. We wanted to build something exceptional. We wanted to build something that was deserving of these excellent athletes, of this excellent product. And we weren't beholden to what has been done before or what didn't work before. So we started getting to work. And at the beginning, it was really, we want to have a positive impact in the community and we want to build a dynasty on the pitch and a legacy off the pitch. So we developed Angel City, which is, a business where impact and capital can coexist, where we don't sacrifice one for the other, where everything we do has a positive impact in the community, but also drives to valuing this product and ultimately delivering returns for our shareholders. Our first initial name really was WFC LA, Women's Football Club LA. Like we didn't know what to do. I think I drove my kids absolutely crazy because every breakfast and every dinner was, what should the name of this team be? People think branding is fun. It's really not. It's really a painful exercise. And, when it came to the name, like I didn't want it to be, a place or an animal. Like I wanted it to be something like more meaningful and something that was uniquely Los Angeles. We wanted, our crest and our name to be unique and authentic, versatile and timeless. And it was really, really hard. One of the agencies that I work close with called Battery here in Los Angeles came up with a bunch of names. And by the 5th page, they had a bunch of names for supporter groups, which is sort of your ultra fan. And they said, we could have Angel City Ventura, Angel City East LA, and I was like, hold on a second. Why can't we be Angel City Football Club? And it just didn't occur to them. And they literally picked up the phone, called my attorney and said, start a trademark search right now. And that's how the name came about. By accident almost. Incredible.
Yeah, and can I add to that is our crest, we put it out to the market and said, we're putting an RFP out and, come back to us with your ideas. And we had a bunch of people come back and it was amazing. And we did a kind of a blind choice and it ended up being our current creative director, Medea, who's also from Los Angeles. So, and a female, obviously. So it was, it all kind of lined up and she does beautiful work and continues to do so.
It's incredible. And again, an integral part of your club is having mostly female high-profile athletes and celebrities like Natalie Portman within your ownership group, but also just having women as part of your leadership group in general, staff, leadership, everything. What do you think is the impact of having that?
It's really interesting. I think for most of my career, I've been the only female in the room. And this is a situation where it took a long time to get a man in the room, and that wasn't intentional. It just happened. And like sort of Steph said, we moved incredibly quickly. We trusted our gut and our experience. We have, I think women in general set like the bar really high for ourselves, right? Whether it's in our job or in our parenting or in our relationships, like we just have high standards. So I never had to like set goals or follow up with anybody. Like literally when Steph said she would do it, she did it. And she did it better than I ever anticipated. And it was just this like unbelievable trusting environment where we knew we had to do a lot of things and like nobody missed a beat. And I just think, again, I've been part of a lot of teams before, but something about, at the beginning, having it all women, we were all passionate about the mission, committed to what we were building, knew, in our bones that there was value here. You didn't have to convince us, and we weren't doing it because we had a son or because we had a granddaughter or because, like I'm a man and I want to be an ally. We were doing this because we're the target audience and we grew up playing sports and we knew someone who did and knew that there was value there. And, I just think we moved quickly with confidence and expertise. And and Steph said earlier, like a willingness to take risks. Most of the team didn't have sports experience and that was intentional, right? I didn't want to be limited by what people said happened in a sporting event. Like there's not live concerts before a game. There's not a live concert to welcome our players on the pitch. There is now. We've done it twice, right? Like, and there's no reason it shouldn't be. But when we started the women's the National Women's Soccer League was in its 10th year, and for the 8 years before, no one even knew it existed. I didn't know it existed when Kara asked me to start the team with her and Natalie. So we wanted to build. We dubbed our first game the greatest show on earth, right? Like Steph said, there's so many things to focus on in Los Angeles, and we had to create that incredible FOMO experience where you just had to be there, whether you're a football fan or not.
Yeah, and I'll never forget it, but I remember saying to Julie, like, because we set goals, and they were huge goals. Julie was like, we're going to sell at our first game. We're going to win our first game. We're going to da-da-da-da-da. And we're standing at the first game, and we won, and we sold out. And I looked at her, and I was like, what now? She's like, new goals. let's go. And it's that we can't, like Julie said, it's someone's first game. We always have to level up. And we have to. And we continue to sell out and break records because we are so fan and community centric as well. Of course, our players come first. Our fans love our players. Our players spend an hour after each game signing autographs. We've got fans that create beautiful artwork for them. I mean, it's a really beautiful community. And it really started with just, bringing the fans and the community along from the very beginning.
It is one of those things that's kind of like breaking glass ceilings, consistently breaking through the next glass ceiling. But how do you guys think that having such a female influence on the club, how do you think that continues to impact Angel City?
We say this a lot, like if you can see it, you can be it, right? And so I think there's so many sort of pay it forward moments with Angel City. You're seeing, a female CEO, you're seeing a female head of PR, you're seeing, diversity in our staff between race and religion and sexuality. And I think there's that, look, I grew up playing sports and I love sports. I didn't know I could be a president of a club. It never occurred to me. Never even occurred to me to apply for a job at a sports team. It just didn't occur to me, right? And so being able to see it and see people like you holding positions, one of the things I talked about is how we lead with impact and purpose to drive to profitability. And with our partners, we created the Angel City sponsorship model, where 10% of our sponsorship dollars goes back into the community. And through that 10%, we create programming with high school students so they can get experience, in a paid internship at Angel City to pad their resume as they apply to college. We create programming and put ourselves into the community so that it shows people what's possible. We've created an Angel City Football Club coaching network in partnership with Gatorade. We've helped 160 women and non-binary individuals getting a coaching license so they can go back into their community and coach so that, kids that look like them can see a pathway. And that's really important to us. We want to hire the absolute best talent. We think it's super important to have a diverse, executive leadership team and team because you have variety of ideas. We have a diverse community that we're trying to support. So we want to make sure that we do offer something for everyone and we're thoughtful about the experiences and the price. So we're really intentional as we build. You can't get it perfect from the beginning, but as long as you're intentional, you can continue to make steps and get better, every day, every month, every year.
Yeah. Can I add to that really quickly? So one of the 10% model has actually given us, from a PR perspective, a totally different target of media, right? So because we've made such an impact, for example, we just announced our 2 millionth meal delivery with our partner DoorDash. So we have fans that come to our games and in their exit surveys say, I wasn't a fan of football or women's sport before this, but you fed my grandparents during the pandemic through this partnership with your Front of Kit sponsor. Like, this is real stuff. This is tangible. We've delivered 2 million meals. And like, sponsors love that because they get the shine, right? They understand that the younger generation really does care about what your purpose is. And we provide that to our 40 partners. And that's why, we have the highest sponsorship revenue of any team in the world, because we don't just logo slap. We actually go to each one and figure out what that 10% purpose is, which, gives us a lot of different ways about talking about the club.
It's an incredible initiative, and you guys have built such an amazing network, and you really have built an amazing community as well. And I think that's one of those things that builds a very successful sports club, not just a football club, but also, you've built a family. My question, Steph, you live in Sydney.
Yes.
What do you think Australian sports can learn from Angel City's model?
Well, the good news is that we, 2 years ago, Julie and the huge crew of us were down here during the Women's World Cup. And, selfishly, it was a perfect opportunity for me to get my family, everyone to come down and experience this incredible sport culture of this country. Sport is at the heart of so much of our culture here. I think that what's really important, we hosted an equity summit at the Opera House and tried to get people together from not just soccer, but like everyone that wants to talk about equity and fairness and women's issues, and we did that. And what we noticed is a lot of our Australian counterparts were leaning in so hard, and it was mostly females, but there were a lot of men there as well from a lot of the different leagues like Football Australia and cricket. People here are open to learning and understanding how they can do things differently. I've noticed that in my almost 4 years here that a lot of men have come to the table and said, like, I'm not doing this just because I want a good parking space at the stadium. I want to do this because this is really important work. So I think that Australians understand that, you know, maybe they're a little bit behind when it comes to supporting women's sport. And so all we can continue to do as Angel City is continue to be out and talking around the world about this. And Julie's the best speaker on stages. And I'm saying that, I know you're here, but like people like come up to her after and say, like, I never thought about things like that or things that way. Like, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to educate us. We're going to go back to our boardrooms and blow something up. So it's just, you know, and we want more and more people out there talking about this. And we're seeing it, which is really great.
Is there any plans for an Australian sister club to Angel City perhaps one day?
There is definitely not a plan for an Angel City Sydney sister club. No, I mean, I think, look, it's what we build is really exciting, and yeah, we want to continue to grow Angel City because as we drive revenue, it allows us to drive more impact. We want others to follow our model because we think you can do good and make money at the same time. You don't have to choose one over the other, and in its most sort of basic level, to be Angel City, you just have to intentionally invest to build a product, not do it a little bit and wait for a return, actually do it. This past weekend, we had the quarterfinals of the National Women's Soccer League, and Washington Spirit hosted a quarterfinal game. And it was the highest quarterfinal attendance they've ever had. It was like 19,500. 3 years ago, they hosted a quarterfinal. It was 5,000. The difference between 3 years ago and today is they have a new owner who's investing in the team, investing in the community, investing in the product. So it's absolutely doable. We sell on average 20,000 tickets per game. We've had 6 sellouts this past year of 22,000 fans. We have nearly 16,000 season ticket holders. And those stats are really important to us because we built an experience and we built a connection with our community where they find value in spending time with Angel City. And nothing that we did is special or secret. We want to and do share it with everyone because women's sports it's incredible. It's fun, it's engaging, it's competitive, and we just want to see it continue to grow.
And one more thing, what in the next, what is you spoke before about the next goal and the next goal and the next goal. For you guys, what is the next thing?
Winning. I'll go first. Winning on the pitch. I think we've done an exceptional job in the community from a revenue perspective, building a brand, establishing sort of a different model for women's sports. And we have these incredible athletes and an incredible coaching staff, and it's just coming together. So we're being really intentional this year, investing in the facilities, the resources, the staffing with our team to recruit, the absolute best players and to put together a winning team. We made the playoffs last year and just missed it this year. And we want to go a little bit further next year for sure.
And for you,
exactly that. We had a call earlier this morning, and we said, winning changes everything. Winning is so important, and all we can do is provide our players with everything they need in order to win on the pitch. And we can't control that, but we can provide what we can to give them the best shot.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. But before I let you go, I like to give my guests a chance to highlight a woman that they think is doing really great stuff in sports. So I want to know who has inspired both of you lately.
Oh, I mean, Steph, I'm probably going to steal your answer, but she inspires me every day, and that's Billie Jean King. She's an owner of Angel City. She's one of the founding owners of the Premier Women's Hockey League, obviously the Billie Jean King Cup and everything she does in tennis. But, she said no. She said this isn't good enough. And she took a gigantic risk to bet on herself and to bet on her teammates and to bet on women's sports. And I know I wouldn't be here if she didn't take that huge leap of faith. And so, I'm always in awe of that like major risk that she took, and now she just is continuing to lead even to today.
You did steal I first went to Michelle King because Michelle King is who Julie mentioned before. I was standing with her at the Olympics at the women's rugby sevens, and she was blown away. And 20 minutes later, she walked into the locker room of the U.S. team and said, "I'm going to give you $1 million for the next 5 years, and we're going to keep growing this sport." But Billie is, like Julie said, I am so grateful. I work with her. I'm heading to Malaga for the Billie Jean King Cup tonight. And what I love so much about her and is her energy. She's 80 years old. You would never know it. She's so passionate and she does not let up. And so, it's an honor to work with her and with Julie. I'm inspired by these women every day. And I think the more that our younger generation is, reading those books about Malala and reading these books about Billie Jean and understanding the Angel City story, it shows them what they can do. So.
Absolutely incredible. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I am absolutely blown away by both of you, especially being a huge football fan myself. So thank you so much for joining me, Julie and Steph. And to everyone watching, thank you so much for watching today. Make sure that you subscribe, leave us a review, and let us know who you want to see next time.